Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Yes, it's a Saturday edition of Judd's Camp Notes. Judd was out in the sweltering. I saw the selfie video you put out after practice, and that's a man who's been grinding the heat outside hours a day for your entertainment and informational purposes, Purple Daily audience.
Let's start with my trip to the practice field. All set to go to the KOC presser, which was well before practice started. Get my car, close the door, hear a weird crackling sound like something's in the back seat. But I keep this car clean because my previous one I didn't. So I'm like, what the hell? I get out. My window is shattered. Now, I think it shattered because I think it took a beating in the rain/hail coming home from practice last time.
Wow.
And then it got really hot because my car wasn't broken into and it didn't look like it was like a physical thing through, right? So I think it shattered.
So did it shatter when you shut your door, or was it already shattered?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I think it was shattered, but cars are like hockey glass, so they shatter within themselves. So it's not like shards of real sharp glass just going, it just sort of shattered. So anyway, I'm like,
wow.
At first I'm like, can I go to practice? And then I'm like, hold on a second. I got my notebook. I got my resolve, and it's training camp.
You know what would have been devastating? If, let's say, you were leaving your raw Judd's Camp Notes in the backseat of your car because, you're going every day. And you realize that somebody with ill intent broke into your car to steal the raw Judd's Camp Notes.
Oh, first of all, the Camp Notes come with me. Like, that's like a child. Like you just suggested that I left my child in the car.
When you go to the grocery store and your Camp Notes are in the car, do you crack the window so Camp Notes is comfortable when you come back?
No, I tell Camp Notes to suck it up. This is training camp. This is no time for softies. So anyway, long story short, at first I'm like, can I do this? And I'm like, of course I can. And then I go out, I find in our recycling a big enough piece of from a box cardboard, right? And I got masking tape. So I tape it up and then I start to drive and I'm like, it's my rear on my side, driver's side window. I can't see. I got to go to Egan. So I'm like, okay, screw it.
So you're on the freeway with a cardboard replacing
No, I'm not.
you.
No, because I couldn't see, and I need to change lanes. And right now, if you are on 62 or my routes are either 100 to 62 or 100 to 494. So I'm like, I have to, like, if I'm going to change lanes, I can't not see. So I said, screw it. Cardboard off, window broken. So the AC's out now because I'm driving with a window down the entire time.
Oh, so you just had the window down.
And then when I get to my place of destination, cardboard goes back up to protect it.
Got it.
But I'm going to tell you right now, rain, not sports dad's friend.
I always wonder, like, when you're in a Home Depot parking lot or something, and you always see the janky 25-year-old car with the cardboard covering up one or two windows, and I was like, I wonder who's driving that. And now I know it's the sports dad who's driving those vehicles.
If it had been my passenger side rear window, I think I could have cardboarded that.
Yeah.
But like if I'm changing lanes, I got to be safe.
Sense. So you're
AC's
sweating
out
it
now.
out. Yeah.
So AC's out, and you have to put a corresponding window on the other side down, or else I don't know what the correct word is. The reverb of the wind drives your ear crazy.
Yeah, no,
this is how we're doing things for a week.
Wow.
I can't get it fixed till next Saturday.
So this is, just so the audience knows, the dedication, not just yesterday, but for the next week until you can get it fixed.
Yep, a week.
The sports dad, man. So we've got some developing JJ McCarthy news that we're going to lead with here in a moment. These camp notes are presented by the Minnesota Renaissance Festival today, which starts Saturday, August 17th. So just in a couple weeks, open weekends, August 17th. Through September 29th, plus Labor Day, and Festival Friday, which is September 27th. Real Vikings. You get to see real, actual Vikings, and you can throw axes, you can wield swords, you can watch live armored combat jousting, At the Renaissance Festival, enjoy tasty turkey legs, beer, and wine, 16 stages of entertainment, and a huge marketplace. Discounted tickets at renaissancefest.com. So check them out. All right, Judd's camp notes here.
All right.
After a tumultuous drive to the practice facility, sweltering heat. Let's start with some JJ McCarthy stuff here.
All right, let's start with this. 12-period practice. JJ McCarthy, let's start with the good news. He saw reps with the first team for the first time in camp.
Wow. I feel like that's bigger news than... Was that like a Vikings Friday news dump? Did they figure...
I don't know what it was.
Let's ease it in at 3:30 on a Friday.
That's a really good question. I don't know exactly what that was. But here's the weird thing. So it came on 11 red zone, okay? And it was 3 snaps. So, yeah, it's sort of weird. I can't I don't know that I can necessarily tell you exactly now O'Connell did a couple of weeks or last week. He did mention that he wanted to get Darnold to work with the second team line as well. So I don't know if this was a McCarthy thing. I don't know if this was a Darnold thing, but it was just 3 snaps. So
that's a great way if you're trying to keep people calm and you're trying to keep this sort of under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
A great way to frame it is not JJ McCarthy working with the ones. It's that you wanted to get Sam Darnold some looks with the 2s. And you don't want the first teamers to rot on the sideline. So was it 3 plays on one? Was it like 3 consecutive plays,
it was.
or was it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So here I'll go through the sequence as I try and get something. I just goofed up something, so I'm multitasking right now, Phil.
It's okay. Oh.
In fact, I got it right there. Okay. So what it was it was 3 plays within a red zone sequence that was a 7-play McCarthy. So it went 3 plays, McCarthy, second team, 3 plays, McCarthy, first team. And then I looked, and the final play, the 7th play, was the second team line back. So, I mean, I think the word news dump is sort of interesting. Yeah, you're not totally wrong. I wouldn't say, oh, no, they were trying to hide a thing. It was as if, hey, we want to get you some work here. Let's get you. But a very brief, if you blinked, you missed it. Now, a lot of people, I think, didn't miss it, but it was interesting. I'm going to run through what happened in those 3 plays, and then we'll get to the bigger picture day, which was a really good day. I think the best day of camp so far for Sam Darnold, and a tough day, not surprising. Don't panic for JJ McCarthy. So it was the 1D against the 1 offense, good against good. McCarthy now in. The first play, which is all over Twitter, is an end around to Addison, which is actually I've seen it twice now. It's a creative play. I think we're going to see it.
Touchdown. It's hard to tell for sure, but
it would have been a touchdown. Let me submit this to you as a prediction. And it's a little bit vague. But you know how we have, I don't know, criticized is the right word, how we've had discussions about the fact that O'Connell doesn't necessarily get as creative as we thought he might? And I think one thing we've consistently talked about is there more that you could do with Jefferson? I think the answer to that question for the most part is no. Let me submit, is Jordan Addison potentially the guy? Sort of the Debo, not as much, of course. But if you're going to get creative, because he's smaller, he's strong, and he, as you've seen, is athletic as hell.
Mm-hmm.
He is really athletic. I wonder if he's the guy that they're going to try to, as we talk about, is O'Connell's creativity going to be shown more? If he is the choice, Jefferson, I think, is very much just going to do what he does, which is magnificent. And
Jefferson if he's going to be a decoy and take attention to a certain chunk of the field, Addison can take advantage coming around on different looks, right?
Yes.
So it's it's sometimes it's hard. You think, well, maybe there's creative ways to get Jefferson the ball out of the backfield. Yeah, but 3 defenders are just staring at him all the time, and they're planning for it.
That's a great
point. So can you use the threat of Justin Jefferson to get Jordan Addison some looks, maybe in a creative way in the run game. I mean, San Francisco is brilliant at this with, okay, you got to account for McCaffrey and you got to account for Brandon Ayuk down the field and George Kittle, and boom, here comes Deebo Samuel on an end around and blockers out in front. They just didn't. It has felt like they haven't tried things like that very often. Early, like it felt like the first few weeks in the first year of Kevin O'Connell, we saw some stuff.
Right.
And then it's been a little more basic, just anecdotally. I don't have like data or evidence to support that.
Well, they've gotten creative with Jefferson on some passes and stuff, like where he'll throw the ball. But I think as far as can you take more advantage of his athletic ability with creative plays? The answer's been no. I think Addison might be that guy. And I think the advantage too is Jordan is built, now he's not as strong, but he is built a little bit like Percy was. And we all know that, Childress and company really milked that well. Like they got a lot from him. So the second play of JJ McCarthy's first appearance with the first team in this red zone drill, tried to hit a pass to Johnny Munt, who has just become it's unbelievable. He's like Steve Jordan now. He tried to hit him in the front of the end zone. Unfortunately, and this is where he tries to sometimes rely on his arm, and the game has to slow down more. Theo Jackson, who has had a phenomenal camp, broke it up. Should have picked it, but he still made a nice play.
Right.
So that's 0 for 1. And then the next one, he hits Trent Sherfield Sr. For a touchdown pass back of the end zone, and it looked like a busted coverage. So touchdown, 1 for 2. So that was his day.
And it's probably less about the results in a 2-throw sample size and more about they decided as an organization, Kevin O'Connell as a head coach, a coaching staff, that yesterday was the day that he graduated to first team reps. Not all of them, but like once you crack that door open a little bit, I'm guessing those won't be the only 3 plays he records with the first team offense here going forward. We've officially taken a big step, even though they kind of hit it in the middle of practice on a Friday in the middle
3 plays.
Yep, and it was like a sandwich between some reps with the 2s, but it was a headline big step for JJ McCarthy yesterday.
Yeah, and I think where we're going to learn more is what are the reps like in the upcoming joint practices against Cleveland, because that's going to be the one that's where you really get work in. Those joint practices now are in some ways, I think, more important than the actual preseason game that's going to be played on Saturday. So those will tell us a lot as far as who plays with whom. And look, the McCarthy thing, as we'll discuss, and the Vikings are fully cognizant of this, is going to have good days and bad days. But it's the graduating to what you're talking about, just sort of like, can we progress you here? Can we, and it's good, McCarthy needs to learn that his arm strength can't overcome a lot of things in this league. Like, he didn't pass a lot at Michigan, but when he did, and with his arm strength at times, he probably could just flat out beat defenders. Can't do that here, not consistently. And
it takes time. I mean, I compare it to, a lot of people are playing college football 25 right now for the first time. The college football game has been out in 15, I don't know how many years. And I used to play a ton of Madden in the early 2000s and college football, NCAA 2003, 04. And you crank it up to the hardest level and you're trying to figure out as a video game player, what plays can you make? What throws can you make? It's the same thing with real humans who go from playing college football to the NFL. You're going through mini camp and OTAs, and that's a certain speed, but now training camp with full pads, you're ramping up a little bit more, 11 on 11, and then there's another speed for preseason, regular season, and he's trying to figure out with his strong arm what is a makeable throw and what isn't. And Theo Jackson sounds like taught him a lesson yesterday that that might have been a college window right there, and maybe it's a pro window, but it's got to be a split second sooner. And you're not going to just jump in and know what the speed and the pace and the timing looks like. So that's where some of these, where he'll throw an interception or get a tipped ball and he's having a bad day at practice. Yeah, but he's also like feeling it out for the first time as a 21-year-old NFL player.
Right. And he's had some good days and he's going to have bad days. Those things just can't, and I don't think in this case, define you.
Yeah.
And he's not, the good thing about this kid is I don't think he's ever going to like start to question himself, lose confidence, which we have certainly seen from some guys here. But that becomes bad because then you become skittish and you can't be dumb, but you also can't be afraid. So, big picture, quarterback wise, Darnold yesterday, 24 plays. So 24 snaps, 24 plays. We had some penalties called, so I guess those aren't technically snaps, but it's training camp.
You're counting those though in your talent.
I'm counting those as you are under center. Okay, McCarthy 22, Mullins 4, poor Jaron Hall 3.
Yeah.
So if this is interesting, Phil, if indeed some of the predictions, including one being made by the play-by-play announcer on KFXN, are correct, he still contends, and he knows stuff. Like Paul knows stuff. Paul Allen said he still is sticking with his prediction that the opening day quarterback depth chart will be Darnold starting, Mullins 2, McCarthy 3, which is interesting in this sense from the Mullins standpoint. Kevin O'Connell is literally saying, okay, dude, if you have to play, I will play you with basically, I'm sure, preseason reps, but basically very, very few training camp reps.
But he knows the system because he's been in it now.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like he piloted the actual Vikings airplane for a month and a half in the regular season.
I don't know it.
It was a little turbulent at times.
I was going to say, you know what? It was fine.
It hit a bird.
It was fine at cruising altitude at 35,000 feet, but when they tried to land it, I'm not sure it landed smoothly.
It's like there was some alarms going off in the cockpit.
Exactly. What's that? What's that alarm?
Yeah.
Okay, so Darnold, 12 of 16, a really good day. A false start would have erased one completion, and I had at least one sack, which of course you can't sack the quarterback so he can keep plays alive. So those stats would have come down a bit, but at the end of the day, the point is 12 of 16, a really good day.
Yeah.
McCarthy, a rough day. 8 of 16. He would have been sacked at least twice. There was the aforementioned Theo Jackson near pick. And I want to talk about, if you'll indulge me, the end of practice. Because just like we talked about a couple of days ago, the end of practice drill to me is the most important because there's pressure and you got to think fast. Okay.
Is the 2 minute, they have
1 minute left.
Minute on the clock, a timeout.
Yes. A timeout. I was in a weird position, so I couldn't see the exact starting yard line. I would estimate it was the offense's 40 or 45. But yeah, so you don't have much time. It's a situation where you have to get up to the line of scrimmage. You're not going to have time unless there's a stoppage of the clock to huddle. And here's what we saw. Darnold. And remember, last time we did this, Darnold was bad. Yeah. And McCarthy completed one pass, but it was impressive, okay? Darnold, this time, incompletion to Jordan. But then, and this is notable because I've harped on this not being well done, and it was yesterday. Darnold's second pass in this drill, a beautiful pass over the middle to Jefferson, who beats a Caleb Evans. And this is the exact play that Darnold and Jefferson, I don't think, were synced up on at all a week ago. And I actually think that there's a potential with Jefferson because of where he caught the ball, that this could have been a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So this is a big step because this is the play where Darnold previously was leading Jefferson into hits. The ball seemed to be a tick late. This time, it's not the same play. It wasn't a crossing route, but it was the same spirit of, okay, I got to hit you downfield. Let's say it's a 25-yard catch. And Jefferson beats, not surprisingly, that this is actually going to become a theme, a Caleb Evans on the play, but he's Jefferson. But more importantly, it just looked like they were very much on the same page. And I would not say that's necessarily been the case all camp.
Yeah. The timing's been a little off. And it's 1 week of practice, and I feel like a lot of people are already just like dismissing Sam Darnold. Oh, he's garbage. Okay, let's let them build some more chemistry, full pads, everything. But yeah, it's funny because like the deep passes have been once or twice per practice. Gorgeous. I feel like Darnold has been on the money with those. And I don't know, maybe you can just go 98 Vikings and have success just lobbing the ball down the field, but that intermediate range is the thing to keep an eye on. That's Kevin O'Connell's offense, and that's Justin Jefferson. That's how he gets to 1,500, 1,800 yards. Yep, that's how you move the chains. That's how you keep the base runners moving around. So that's the thing. Those intermediate 25 is like on the edge. That's getting closer to deep, but like 10, 15, 20 yards in the air, that's where you got to eat.
So that could have been a touchdown, but because of how they run this drill, they just spot the ball again. And I think they spotted at the point of the catch. Anyway, next play, Darnold short pass, Aaron Jones. That's productive. I have seen clips of, not from this period necessarily, but I have seen clips of the screen game being blown up at times. But on this one, short pass. And then the next one, Darnold ends it on it's a 1st and 7, 28 seconds left. Darnold to Addison, touchdown.
Yeah, let's go.
Touchdown again.
LFG.
And again, he beats Caleb Evans. At least he was the closest defender. But anyway, so Darnold ends the day really strong. He has ended 2 or 3 practices not strong. So as much as what I'm about to tell you about McCarthy might be like this is your starting QB September 8th. This is definite progress. Like this is good to see.
Yep. That's good. And do we have any indication on you pushed a couple days ago, Kevin O'Connell, on who's going to play at quarterback in preseason games? Has he at all budged on that information?
So when Seifert and I, when he stopped the day that he stopped to talk to you as well, when he stopped to give us some ribbing, good natured though, good guy. Seifert, because he also is very deliberate about not talking about depth charts and they don't exist yet, blah blah blah. And Seifert,
by the way, they blur the depth charts on the field a lot because you'll see
they do.
There's like 6 different edge rushers working with the ones at times, and we've seen like both Duke Shelley and Fabian Moreau walk off the street into the first team defense.
I think a second, let's say with 91 guys in camp right now, let's say there's at least 3, if not 4 layers of depth charts. I would say it's fair to say that Brian Flores's is much more murky.
There's like 20 guys vying for first team defense reps. Right?
I think Kevin O'Connell's is set largely, but Seifert jokingly said, "You've got a depth chart," and I said, "And you know who's playing quarterback in the exhibition games?" And he smiled and pointed to his head, said, "It's all right here. It's all right here." So no, he's not going to. He might tell us next week, because the first preseason game is Saturday against the Raiders at home. So I think we might get a little bit of a preview there. And I guess the question is, as much as the excitement of how much will JJ play, the question also is, you're going to have to play Sam, I would imagine, a few snaps. He's not Cousins.
This whole thing, the fact that the Bears didn't play Caleb Williams for a few snaps, a couple series, he's a rookie learning an offense for the first time.
Right.
Sam Darnold is not an established starting quarterback. He's a backup looking to become a starter again in a new offense. JJ McCarthy. So you're trying to weigh, I get it. You're trying to weigh the value of some live reps that are a step faster against different defenses versus the threat of injury. And I know that that's the constant. If you're the Chiefs, zero upside in playing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But if you're these teams with rookie quarterbacks and the Sam Darnold caliber guys, now the joint practices put a wrench into it, because I agree with you. I'd rather see, if I had to choose, live reps where you can script, because the problem with preseason games is you can't determine whether your guy's going to get a 2-minute offense look, or You can't even determine whether he's going to have like
You can't control anything.
field goal range, drive reps. Yeah, because but in the like against the Browns, they're literally going to set aside 10 or 15 minutes for each offense to run 2-minute drill or red zone or whatever it is. So
Right.
But I don't know. I would lean toward absolutely playing both JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold in the preseason. 100%.
And in the Bears' defense, a little bit, that's an extra game too. So like if they continue to not play Caleb, they're morons. But the Vikings have 3 games, and I think it would be wise to try to get Sam some work. I think especially with the interior of that offensive line, like the tackles can play or not, but like Bradbury and Darnold, like that's the type of thing. I mean, Justin Jefferson ain't playing, and he shouldn't play. So, but let's get to the day of JJ McCarthy, Phil.
Okay. Oh, the stats. You said 8 of 16.
Yeah, 8 of 16. But I want to get to the end of the practice again. A minute left, a timeout. Again, my rough estimation, ball at the offense is approximately 40-yard line or so, and it was ugly. And that's why it's brought to you by our friends at uglydeck.com.
Wow.
Because,
look at this.
Because we don't want JJ, we don't want him to play ugly football, but we do want to point out, Ugly Deck is on a mission to rid the world of ugly decks. Book a free deck estimate this month and get 3 footings included. Just need perhaps a deck facelift. Look at that beauty right there. Get up to $1,000 off installation or a DIY deck package. For the DIYer, Ugly Deck can install your footings and ledger and save you from the mess and frustration on the hardest part of building that deck. Half of all Ugly Deck customers have never framed a deck before, but with a free coach and their DIY Video Academy, you can do it. Or you can be like me, which is I ain't doing anything by myself because I'll screw it up. If you want the top carpenters and maintenance-free decks to build your entire deck, that's Sports Dad. They build year-round, so book a free estimate today for a new deck this year. Just go to uglydeck.com to book that free estimate. Uglydeck.com and say, I want a beautiful deck, and I know why. That is why you call yourselves Ugly Deck, to rid the world of those. We want to rid the world, or at least the Vikings, of ugly quarterback play. And so let's get into McCarthy's final series yesterday. First pass actually started off good. Completion playing with the second team to Trent Sherfield Sr., the veteran that they signed from the Buffalo Bills. But then that is followed up by an incompletion. I think it was to the right sideline. I couldn't see the intended receiver. It might have been Wangwu. 41 seconds left. And this is where things start to get shaky. McCarthy then completes a pass to Wangwu and calls a timeout. McCarthy then completes a pass to Tristan Jackson. 35 seconds left. And you're thinking, okay. But then we get the rookie mistake. And the rookie mistake here is not trying to force a ball in. That's a mistake, but it's like, okay, kid, dial back on the confidence. This is a mistake made up in the old brain. And this is where you got to work on stuff. And this is why you don't rush guys. He takes a sack on second down with the ball around the defense's 20-yard line. This is
and they've already used their timeout.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah. This is a massive no-no. Like this is
fringe of field goal range and no timeout, and now the drive is cooked.
Yep, yeah. and you're down 27-21, so you have to get a touchdown.
Okay.
So I'm willing to bet that this was probably a point of discussion with the head coach and McCarthy, because you can't have this. Like, you're doing okay, and then it's bang. Now you're in trouble. There are now 13 seconds left when McCarthy clocks the ball. But now you're backed up more.
Yeah.
There's 13 seconds left. You have no timeouts.
And it's less than 14 seconds. It's a short field, so you might be able to go quick, but
yep.
I guess you could throw 2 lobs into the end zone, but your options now are very...
But you took the sack.
Very limited, yeah.
Like taking the sack is destructive as hell. And then it ends with this. And before I say this, I think that this period is actually, in the very gradual development of McCarthy, valuable, because I think the mistakes will help him. Okay.
Yeah. This is like drink out of a fire hose, to use a cliche. This is great.
Right.
If it if he learns and processes and overcomes, obviously.
But yeah, so just to be clear here, I'm not saying McCarthy had a bad day and the Vikings are screwed. I'm saying he had a bad day, and the question now is, one, how does he bounce back today? And two, how does he learn from that, which is probably the most important thing.
There's no such thing as failure, sports dad. You're either succeeding or learning. You're not failing. You're either succeeding or you're learning.
Exactly right. If the window on your car breaks, you find a solution and you get to practice.
Amen.
Life isn't always pretty. Life isn't. So McCarthy, it's now 4th down. Situation's in bad shape because, again, you're down by 6 points, and he throws a pass that gets tipped for an incompletion, and that's the game.
Okay.
This also goes back to, Phil, this is like 3rd or 4th time at least, and it's probably more. I probably missed some. He's getting passes tipped too much at the line of scrimmage. There's something going on here where there needs to be, and this is where they talk about like the mechanical adjustments with his feet. And I don't know if it's arm slot. I don't know what it is. All I know is that if you go watch games, right, there could be 100 balls a game tipped. Like guys are coming in hands up, and there are some. But if you consistently have a problem with that, something you need to make a mechanical adjustment. Like if this was the first one of camp, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it got tipped. But when it's a continuing thing, because if nothing else, if that's going to be your mechanics, teams are going to see that on film, and now they're going to exploit it more. So again, just another learning part of the process in a drill, in a period, as you said, where you are drinking out of a fire hose. So there's no margin for error. And most importantly, there's nobody at that point who can save your ass.
When's KOC's next official media session?
Well, he was available yesterday.
Before practice, though,
Before practice. And his next one, I think, is on Monday.
Actually, I think I have the schedule.
I think it's on Monday.
Because I feel there's certain questions that he just will, not in a malicious way, not answer. Like when you were digging on the quarterback schedule for preseason, I bet he'd give you an answer on just broadly, like quarterbacks who
tip balls.
Not to tell you how to do your job, sports dad here, but like, you've noticed some tip balls, but independent of JJ McCarthy, like is that a thing?
I like it. You worked around it.
Yeah, independent. We're not talking about JJ.
The player.
We're not talking about JJ.
Player X.
Yeah. For quarterbacks who happen to get footballs tipped at the line of scrimmage, is that just like bad random luck? Is it arm slot? Let's see here. So what's the date today? The 3rd. Looks like KOC's next media is before the night practice on Monday.
On Monday. Yep. Yeah.
Maybe I'll show up and ask that question.
Is there something about quarterbacks who tend to get balls tipped at the line of scrimmage that is
fixable? Is it easily correctable?
Yeah. What if we started to use that? They would have no idea about where that goes back to the.
Is that easily correctable?
If you go back on the film and watch that, can you easily correct that?
How correctable is it? Pretty easily correctable? No?
All right. Some final notes. I'm literally cleaning out the notebook right now. Started a new one yesterday, by the way.
Wow, we're already multiple notebooks.
Oh, yeah. Right. So, interesting that, and I would not call this a grueling camp. By its nature now, the rules in the entire league, like compared to what we saw in Mankato back in the day, there's no such thing as grueling camps. But it is interesting to note that the Vikings were in pads. So Monday was their first allowed day in pads. They were in pads on Wednesday. They were off on Thursday. They were in pads again on Friday.
Wow.
So in today's world of practices, and in O'Connell's world, where I feel like his first camp was really light, and he went out of his way to say it's going to be light, he definitely has ramped up the desire for, if nothing else, toughness. I like this, but it's a definite change of philosophy.
And it's full pads when it's 92 degrees and kind of humid. And they're doing a ton of water breaks, by the way. I know.
Which I didn't know this until it was pointed out to me yesterday. Did you know that when they say it's like a 12 or 14 period practice, which means there's separate entities of like red zone here,
they call it water breaks.
Water breaks count as a period.
And it'd be like a 5-minute water break. Yeah.
So anyway,
I didn't know that they counted those.
It counts. So like the clock sets, runs, and so there's a certain time. I guess it's so that they don't like rush them through it, but the clock will now set. And so if you're at practice and they go to a water break, look at the scoreboard and you will see the clock, to your point, set for, I don't know, 5.
Yeah, actually, that's a good thing. If you're at practice and you're wondering, because they've got the scoreboard, and thousands of fans are going to practice every day, every week. So when you look at the scoreboard, you'll see there's the home and the visitor where the score would be.
Yep.
The only time they use that for the actual score of a simulated game is at the end of practice. So at the end of practice in the 2-minute drill, they'll put like 27-21, like Judd said, and then you'll see a minute 10 left. Timeouts left. It's an actual scoreboard. But for the majority of practice, the top left number is what session they're on.
Yep.
And then the right number might be like the number of plays or something within the session.
Yep.
So you can see usually these practices are like 12, 13, 14 session practices. So if they're on session 8, you know that in 5 more sessions you'll see the red zone. Just for a tip for people who are out there. Mm-hmm. But or we were talking about water breaks. We were talking about the pads. So the collective bargaining agreement determines that you can't have a full padded practice until like last Monday.
Yep.
Does it also cap the number of full padded practices?
I think it does. Yes, I think it does. And I don't know if O'Connell in his first 2 training camps fell below that, but I just know that this is the most like physical camp he's had, and they're not like tackling, they're not trying, but they are there's definitely, I think he felt, and he would not say this because it's taboo unless you're Zim, I think he felt in a lot of ways last year's team wasn't tough enough,
a little soft.
Well, and I think it starts with the fumbles, dude. I think those fumbles, and they worked. I mean, I think the frustrating thing was they worked on ball security last summer in camp.
Yeah.
And the start of the season was a disaster. And so I would say the 2 things that have driven him, total guess, I've not talked to him about it, but 2 things that have driven him to have a more physical camp in his mind are the fumbles, which are partially based on being, I think, soft in his mind. And I don't think the lines, defensive and offensive lines, were in his mind tough enough.
Yeah, and they haven't changed a whole lot on those fronts.
No, but they had Bradbury gain weight. Bradbury this is the first time in his career where I think he actually looks the part.
A little more sand in his pants.
He's got more sand in his pants. He looks tougher. So I think that they had Bradbury gain some weight. They had, Brandel's going to replace Dalton Reisner solely based, in my opinion, on the run game. They went out and signed defensive linemen who have, as we've talked about, some of them are fairly big. So
yeah, Tillery's got some sand in his pants.
Yeah, I just think they want this team to be able to effectively step up and kick some ass at times. And I would say the 23 Vikings didn't do that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so veteran days off. Now, Justin Jefferson, and we'll get into this because his comments to Seifert were really interesting. But Jefferson was off on Wednesday. The team was off on Thursday. Yesterday, Harrison Smith, Dalton Reisner, Jonathan Bullard. Now, the last one you might be like, Jonathan Bullard? Why is he off?
He's been around. And they also mixed in some interesting,
to our point, Brian Flores, mad scientist. Depth charts are for wussies as far as he's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Jaquelin Roy, and more importantly, Levi Drake Rodriguez getting run up fronts with the one. And I'm going to tell you right now, not surprising, but it was confirmed. Levi Drake Rodriguez has a motor that he don't turn off.
Yeah. You want to talk about sand in pants, by the way. That guy has a trunk for a lower body.
Yes.
Just in the one-on-ones. I mean, he pushes guys around and makes you work.
Yes.
He was a Mr. Mankato dark horse. I don't think any of us drafted him, but we've talked a lot about him because the Athletic did a big feature on him during the draft, and he comes from this small random college. But Yeah, that's a really interesting note that he got some sprinkling with the first team defense. And by the way, outside of Harrison Phillips, as far as I'm concerned, all of those jobs are wide open. It's Harrison Phillips, and I'm not saying Jonathan Bullard's going to get cut or anything.
But they're all going to rotate too, so there's jobs.
And Tillery was a former first-round pick that they're hoping there's something there.
Yep.
But it ain't like, 10, 15 years ago when good luck cracking the Williams wall and Ray Edwards and Jared Allen. There's jobs to be taken for somebody.
And there was actually because there was a lot of good on good in the team practice yesterday. There was one play where Darnold drops back to pass. Levi Drake Rodriguez is pressuring Bradbury, and I think Drake Rodriguez goes to the ground, but he continued his pursuit of Darnold at the feet, which is a very questionable practice thing. We don't like to hit. And Bradbury got really pissed off, and they pushed and shoved. It didn't lead to a fight. But the point is,
I love it.
I think in Levi Drake Rodriguez's mind, okay, I'm not supposed to technically hit the quarterback, but if I stop on a play, Brian Flores is going to be like, "Why'd you stop on that play?"
Yeah, you got to.
If I don't stop on, yeah. So anyway, this is just something to watch because the motor is. I'm not saying that he is going to ever be Johnny Randall, but the motor is reminiscent.
The greatest undrafted player in Vikings history.
Purple Persuasion, my friends, aggregate it this way. Levi Drake Rodriguez's motor reminds Judd of Johnny Randall. The question is the talent there?
Wow.
Thank you, Purple.
If he starts putting on the full face
everything,
paint.
but they got videos, they got everything. It's great.
It's great, yeah.
All right.
Wow. Any other things? Any other droppings in your OPIC here?
Oh yeah. There's more. This is why you do the Saturday show, because there is more.
This will hopefully tie people over for the weekend.
Missing practice because of injury. Lewisine is still out. That's 6 now. 6 practices, including a walkthrough. But it's 6.
Zero, especially with Theo Jackson playing well again.
Yeah.
Like there's zero chance. And McCain coming out,
well,
he's a safety.
And there's a conversation to be had. This could be a show at some point, or at least a big talker. There's a conversation to be had of, do you pay Cam Bynum, who we all like, but he's a safety, or do you allow him to play out his contract? Now, Harrison Smith's going to retire, so this is the curveball, but Theo Jackson is prepared to start. Like, I could see them playing Jackson this year, but then him, if Bynum leaves, stepping into that role. And to compare this to baseball, safety is sort of like, I think, in the minds of baseball executives, first base. So
you can find guys.
So right. So do you pay Bynum what he probably deserves, or do you say, you know what? No, Theo Jackson's good, and we'll find a guy. So
boy,
that could be a segment on.
Yeah, I mean it's really about roster building philosophy, and Kwesi has, they kind of inherited some bloated linebacker, safety, running back contracts when he took over a couple years ago, but I think he's made it very clear which positions he values and which positions you can maybe just try to find a guy at. And I think running back, like the Aaron Jones contract didn't break the bank, and it's a 1-year deal.
It's a great contract.
So for the first time in a long time, Peterson and Dalvin Cook, the Vikings aren't paying top of the market running back prices. But I think they look at running back and linebacker, and we'll see about safety. Now, safety is a much more pivotal position in Brian Flores' defense because you need guys on the back end who can. I mean, think about what you're asking for these safeties. You're asking Josh Metellus to be like a linebacker safety hybrid. And you're not asking these guys to play back and keep everything in front. Oftentimes, they have to bail back and make reads and have foot speed.
And that's where Bynum being so smart helps. But I think the other part of the equation, if Bynum is still unsigned going into free agency next March, is this. Do you invest in Bynum at safety, or do you take some of that cash and go try to sign a prominent defensive tackle or cornerback? Yeah. So like it's really intriguing, and Bynum's great. So if they sign him, that's fine. But I do think that Kwesi's opinions and what Flores tells him, assuming that Brian sticks around, will be intriguing. Shaq Griffin, 7 practices out, hamstring. That's one where it sucks he's missing time, but you also are not going to rush a veteran back. So, and Robert Tonyan, our guy who had back spasms a couple days ago, did not practice as well. I think that depth chart is clear. Oliver, Munt, Muse, and when Hawk comes back, you're going to have to make a decision. But I think that's done. Fabian Morrow continues to get run outside boundary, right cornerback, first team. With the cornerback room now, I'm not saying it's great players, but it's certainly a lot of guys now.
It's
because
several
they've signed
players.
4.
Yeah.
They've signed 4. Andrew Booth Jr., I think, was taking some 3s snaps.
It's over.
Possibly 2. I think it's done.
So when Shaq Griffin comes back, if you look at what they have in that room right now, let's see here.
Yep.
So Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy Jr., and then Fabian Moreau is getting run with the 1s.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of like guys that would be ahead of Andrew Booth Jr. Caleb Evans, even though he's got cooked a little bit yesterday.
But he's first team right now.
Mm-hmm. It's I would say Dwight McGlothern, undrafted free agent.
Yep.
Probably ahead of Andrew Booth Jr.
Oh, I think so. They like it.
Like Jay Ward even has been getting run with the second team defense.
Yep.
And I didn't even mention, like, I don't know that Duke Shelley makes the team, but he's a veteran that
I don't think he does.
Has shown some flashes.
I don't think he does. But Ward and Ward is valuable because, one, he plays a ton of special teams, and because of what Metellus has done, we know that Flores values that potential versatility. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's done.
It's tough, man.
All right, I got more for you.
Yeah.
We saw kickoff work.
Oh.
We saw it with our own 2 eyes.
Football.
We saw kickoff work, okay?
Give the fans something to cheer about.
Here's what we saw. Pairings of the deep men. This is important.
These are the returners?
These are the returners. So who's deep? Who's going to potentially, because in a can go, you know what? As long as the ball lands in that zone, you know, you don't have to, you'll probably kick away from some guys, but the fact is we don't know whom. All right. First pair of returners. Both of these guys, if there were questions about their viability to make the roster, which I don't think at this point that there is. Your first pair, Kene Nwangwu, Jalen Naylor.
Okay.
That's your first pair. I think Nwangwu, because he frustrated him by being hurt in training camp last year, I had questions about if he was going to make the roster. But with the amount of run he's got with McCarthy in the second team offense and seeing this, I think he's a slam dunk. So I think he's on the roster. Second pair, Brandon Powell and running back Myles Gaskin.
Okay.
Third pair, this sort of surprised me. I thought that this guy might actually be alongside Kene. Third pairing, Ty Chandler and wide receiver Malik Knowles.
Okay.
So those are your 3 pairings, potential pairings on what a fictitious kickoff return depth chart.
Interesting. I think, I mean, Nwangwu for sure. If especially, I mean, is there a chance Nwangwu doesn't make? I think you keep him on the team. I think even though he's not really an offensive asset.
I think he's got it made.
But Ty Chandler in that format too, where it's much more like an offensive play and you're a running back looking to make a cut.
Yep.
When that guy runs like a 4.5 40-yard dash, he'd be an interesting one back there.
I wonder if that is based potentially on the expectation that he is going to share the load a bit with Aaron Jones, and that KOC is putting the kibosh on more work. But if he doesn't get more work, would you graduate him? Because I'm with you. I think Nwangwu and Chandler would present a real problem.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Jones, now I don't think Jones is going to be an old school bell cow, but I am curious because I don't think Chandler's on the third pair because he stinks. Like, it's not like, well, you suck at this.
No, they're getting him. They're getting him some work. 100%.
And so last thing, post-practice press conference, Justin Jefferson at the podium. Jets, as I call them now. You got your JJ, you got your Jets. Kevin Seifert went down a very interesting line of questioning with both O'Connell and Jefferson, because Jefferson got the Veterans Day off on Wednesday. And I mean, he's a veteran, but he's not an old man. And Kevin's premise, and he's exactly right, is how much is this a reaction to what we saw with Jefferson missing substantial time a year ago because of the hamstring injury suffered against the Chiefs? Here's the quote from, and O'Connell he answered it, but he didn't go, oh yeah, this is all, he just talked about the fact that Jefferson learned a lot about his body last year. But here's the Jefferson quote that I think is really intriguing. I'm so scared for it to happen again that I've been overly cautious about it, he said. Just trying to take care of my body in the right way, just trying to find new things that I can implement in my day-to-day life that can better help me throughout the season. I've definitely been working on my hamstrings a little bit more, making sure that I'm injury-proof. A very interesting acknowledgement from a young man who, until a year ago, I don't think had missed time.
Yeah. So he's essentially like it's a thing for him. He's determined to not let it happen again. But that's interesting.
And it's and the bad part for now, it's good he's being smart. The bad part for now is it clearly is still in the back of his mind constantly.
Yeah.
Eventually, you don't want that. But I just thought it was a very candid response that you don't ordinarily expect from players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is fascinating. I don't know that like one random off day during camp is I think it's more of it's a nice gesture, because at the end of the day, you're still grinding from now until January.
And we don't know though my guess is that this was pre-planned by the athletic training staff.
Yeah.
As like hydration days. Like, I mean, there's so much now. They know how much guys run in camp now.
Yeah, are they all still wearing like
I think so.
the catapult vests or whatever?
So like they track everything, like steps, running, all that stuff.
Sleep. Yeah.
So like this is not like, hey, take the day off. I think this was pre-planned, but I find it very intriguing that Jefferson is so introspective about that, which is in some ways smart. But again, I also don't want you, once it feels good, you sort of would like to say, hey, it's not in the back of my mind constantly. Perhaps it will be. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that type of injury doesn't fall under the umbrella that Nicolay Law would come and help you out with. But if you have been involved in an injury, maybe a car accident, Nicolay Law is the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Just a bunch of everyday folks who live in the Twin Cities, bunch of Purple fans. Russell Nicolay, big fan of the Purple and the Twins and other teams. But they're normal folks who happen to have law degrees, and they're here to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers, Nicolay Law, at nicolaylaw.com or 1-855-NICOLAY. Check them out on the interwebs. Judd's Camp Notes in overdrive here on a Saturday for you guys. Great stuff today.
Thank you.
Grinding through car problems.
I was going to say, I'm getting back in my car, shattered. Window down today, headed right back. Because you don't take days off.
Top down, football music blaring.
Rip the top off my car.
Football music blaring out the window.
Yep. Just driving down 62, passing people, going through the A gap.
Do you ever envision yourself as a running back when you're on the freeway?
Yeah.
In your car?
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah, me too.
Of course I do. Like I'll go around someone and then I'll cut back in.
And he's loose.
The most satisfying thing is the go around, cut in, cut out again because there's a second car, and cut back.
Sometimes I pretend I'm an NBA player, slam on the brakes and get the foul from behind. No,
I do that with my dog. Yeah. With Stella, I'll just stop and she'll
slam on the brakes.
And I'll go, foul.
Oh, man. All right, Judd's Camp Notes every single day. Judd is here for you, the sports dad. I'll be out at the night practice on Monday for sure. And we got business picks up. We got preseason games coming up here, but JJ McCarthy has finally graduated to working a little bit with the first team offense. So we'll keep an eye on that. Daily Vikings entertainment and information and camp notes. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.